All right. Welcome to Mentorship Monday, where we have a conversation with one of our mentors in the Inspire Mentorship program to talk about their careers, people who have had an impact on their lives, and the lessons they've learned along the way. Today, we have Motjope Mokhathi, Ndate Motjope Mokhathi, who's the CEO of Tari Mutual. He has vast experience in life insurance. He has an MBA from Mississippi State University and a BSc in medical microbiology, which is very interesting, from the University of the Free State. So he has served as an executive vice president of the Junior Chamber International and the president of SAIF, which is now in Actus at the University of the Free State. So welcome, Mujobe. How are you?
Thank you for having me, DK. I'm great.
Awesome.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Here, yes. We've had so many conversations, so I'm happy that we get to have a public one. I know that you have a lot of experience to share. So, yeah, to start off, can you tell us about your career? Did you always know what you wanted to be when you were growing up?
Okay, so I've always been a confused kid.
Uh-huh.
I've always, probably I never knew what I wanted to be, but I always wanted to be great. That's all I can say. Um, because, first of all, when you grow up here in Lesotho, you don't have a lot of options, or you don't know about a lot of career options. So you're stereotyped to medicine, to law, to maybe accounting.
Yeah.
So I've always been good at maths. So my peers always say, no, man, uhlale, don't be a doctor. So I've always thought I would want
Yeah.
to be a doctor, but as time progressed, I found, nah, this is not what I want. So I never knew exactly where I wanted to be. I just knew that I wanted to
You
do
want to be
something great.
great. What did greatness mean to you? What did it mean that I want to be great?
So I think in the beginning, greatness meant money, success in terms of money, having a big house, having big cars, and. But later, it was all about contributing to society in a meaningful way. So that's what great is all about
Okay.
to me.
All right. So, what did you decide to study when you got to university?
Okay, so
And why? And how did you get to make that decision?
interesting. When I when I was done with my, so I did my, I think it was 2003 when I did my Form 5 at Adventville. So I got a second class, qualified to go to UNUL, but I was not keen. To Zamakaya, So I wanted to
Yeah.
go to SA, and then I went to New Horizon, did grade, was it grade 11? Okay, yeah, did grade 11, did matric,
So you did Form 5 and then you went back to grade
and then I
11.
went
Oh
back
my
to grade
gosh.
11. Then when I was at New Horizon, because I was good at maths, like really good.
Yeah.
And then people said, no, man, you must do medicine, you must do medicine, you must do medicine. So I wanted to do medicine. And then I remember some guy saying in class, no, man, he was very good at maths also. He says, no, man, I'm going to do actuarial science. I'm like, what's that? He's like, no, man, you see there, we create formulas of maths. And
That is mathematics.
yes.
Yeah.
So we create formulas. I'm like, creating formulas. Who wants to do to create formulas? So, and my math teacher was saying, now you cannot go and do medicine. Like, you'll be wasting your mind. You're just too bright to do medicine. So I didn't listen to her. I applied to med school and at UFS, and then went for the test. I remember you do
You have
some
to do
tests.
this test in
Yes.
June while you're in
Yes.
matric. Yeah, you have to write a test. I know about that because I wanted to study medicine, but I didn't have anybody pushing me to like write exams or do anything. So I didn't do it. So yeah.
So I went in there, wrote those tests, and then I didn't qualify. So I couldn't get into med school. So the plan was So the lady who was assisting us there says, no, yeah, if you didn't go into med school, it's fine. Go do another BSc course, and then maybe in second year or then you can apply back into med school. And like, okay, so what's the next best thing to medicine? And then started looking there, like, oh, medical microbiology. And then, okay, I'm gonna do medical microbiology. With the hope that in my second year I'll come back and do medicine. So during the course of the year, I'm like, medicine is too tough. So what if I fail? If I don't complete? So I'm like, you know what? Let me finish this first degree. Then when I'm done, then I'll apply into medicine so that when I fail this side, at least I have a degree. And then the other thing was people were saying, no, medical microbiology, people don't finish. This thing's too hard. So I'm like, okay, it's too hard. I'm gonna do this thing. So that's when I did medical microbiology, because it was the next best thing to medicine, with the hope that when I'm done, I'll do medicine. But as time went on, then you get exposed to other careers. When you get university, and then so there's this thing. And then when I was done with my first degree, I'm like, nah, I hate this thing. I just hated it. You're just doing a lot of viruses and bacteria and the long words, streptococcus, whatever. These things. And then when I was done, then I applied to do actuarial science. Then that's when I started doing XI. I was excited. Yeah. So I think that's how I moved from medicine to
finance. Also, all right. And I know did you finish your XI? No,
I didn't finish it.
Why not?
It was too difficult. So it's a 3-year program. And then I was in my 5th year, and then I got this opportunity to go to the US. And like, you know what?
I'm gonna drop
this thing.
How did you feel? Did you feel like you're a failure when you didn't finish actuarial science? And especially coming from a background where you were always told, you're very smart, you should do something that is very challenging. When you didn't manage to finish it, how did that feel?
So I think by that time I was done with it. So it's a 3-year program. Then I did the first year, passed it. It was nice. And then we got to second year. Oh God, it was ATW 216. I know I feel that thing. Came again next year, but I passed it. Went to 4th year, I failed. In my final year, I still failed the first semester. So it was terrible at that time. I remember almost in tears talking to Kitsi after one exam. I was crushed. They said, "No, guy, you don't know how Kitsi is." So I think the other thing was the pressure. Now I did my first degree, and then when I came to do the second degree, so nesekele leveling because my younger brother was now doing first degree investment science. So we would do some of the modules together. So in a pressure when you fail, and then don't know how
he's looking at you,
and then I think he even completed before. So it was quite emotional. But after that, when I offered to go to the US and do an MBA, like done with this thing.
So what was the offer? Did you get a scholarship or something like that?
Yeah, I got a scholarship. So, and it's interesting how I got it, because I failed economics. I think it was my second year. No, it was year 4, but I was doing second year economics. So I failed economics. So at that time, they introduced what they call a Jumester, where they brought in US lecturers, and the UFS guys went to the US, sort of an exchange program for lecturers. So during that winter, I remember it was a Friday and we were writing an exam. When I went to submit my paper, so these two guys were chatting. Megan and John. It's like, Megan, did you do all the preps for the kids because we're going to Lesotho tomorrow? And I'm like, oh, so you guys are going to Lesotho? She's like, yeah, I know. I'm like, I know. I'm from Lesotho. If you don't mind, I could go with you and show you around. And they're like, no, that's great. And let's go. And then we came down on Saturday. We went around Bonale. We went to somewhere close to Hamahale because we never got there. Because petrol la fela today. These guys. Then we went back to Bloom on Sunday, and then life continued. So I think it was around June 2011. I got an inbox, Facebook. Hi MJ, this is Megan. We have a scholarship here at our university to do an MBA. If you're interested, shout out. We'll pay for your GMAT.
Yeah,
we'll pay for your flights and what? No, come in.
Wow, all this, just for helping people, really, for showing them around. And
that's how I got it. And then they paid for my GMAT, they paid for my trips to Joburg, they paid for my visa, they paid for everything. And that's how I ended up there.
I find it interesting that you actually got to do an MBA without like one would think for you to do an MBA, you need to have a foundation of finance or, business background, but you just had a BSc in medical microbiology. What was the experience like of now learning business administration with that background, where all you did was viruses and maybe a little bit of actuarial science?
So, it wasn't that bad because most of the stuff that we did in the MBA was a lot of stuff that we did in my undergrad doing XI. So it was not necessarily, I was not moving necessarily from a medical microbiology background. I had spent 4 years doing business economics and financial economics. So it wasn't that bad, but the experience was great.
And didn't it count against you that you were like struggling to do this other degree in actuarial science? They didn't
consider they didn't even consider it.
Okay.
They just wanted, do you have an undergrad? Yes, yeah.
Medical microbiology.
Okay, fine. Let's do this thing.
All right. So I like your story because I think a lot of people, certainly if I was doing medical microbiology, I wouldn't think I would end up, doing an MBA, or even now you're in insurance, I wouldn't make that connection. And I think that a lot of young people think they have to figure everything out in matric. I know that I tell this all the time. I registered for. When I started, I wanted to do medicine. Then I didn't know what to do when I didn't do the exam. So then I registered for B admin. And then after a day, I'm like, what the heck? What the heck is B admin? And then I probably registered for some BSc, whatever. And then I was like, what is this? So I was so confused. And I think it's because I wanted to figure everything, my whole life out in that, 1 month or in the 3 years of my studies. So looking back, what impact did these experiences have, where you studied this and then you did what you thought was something that you always wanted to do and it didn't really work out. Then you went overseas and you did an MBA. What would you say are maybe 2 lessons that you got from that experience of your studies?
Okay, so one is, it's fine. It's fine if you don't know. It's okay. It's okay. But the minute you know that you don't want this thing, then live it. So, and I always make it this example with when I talk of my story. A lot of people were saying, why would you want to leave medical microbiology and go start another degree? You would have wasted 3 years, and I'm saying it's fine for me to waste 3 years and enjoy the next 50 years of my life. Understand? Because a lot of people, they don't want to waste, they feel
a year or two.
They say, no, man, it would mean I've wasted my 3 years, so let me go and do an honors here in medical microbiology. You understand? So you're in a relationship with this guy, but you don't want to leave him because, okay, no,
I've invested so much.
Yes, so you're going to be miserable for the next 50 years because you don't want to give up 3 years.
The 5 or 3 years, yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's one thing that I learned and that I got to appreciate through this experience, to say, you know what, it's okay to start again.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to start again. So even if something doesn't work out, it's okay. Let me start. I'll start again.
Yeah.
So that's the one lesson that I learned. And then the other one is, you know, life has a funny way of working itself out. When you look back and then you can connect the dots, like you're only able to connect the dots when you look back. I think there's this one book that I read. It's called, again, The Alchemist.
Yeah, The Alchemist.
Yeah. So we are always trying to figure out life for ourselves, but life has already figured itself out for us. We just need to be in the moment and just be there and be present.
Yeah.
Everything will work out.
Will work out in the end. Yeah.
So when I was telling a friend of mine the other day, to say, when I was in the US, I had a book where I'd written 3 things. I think I'd written 3 things that I wanted to achieve in life, and one of them was owning a financial institution. You know,
Wow.
I was not doing finance per se. I was not in insurance per se, but I always wanted to do that. And then when I look back and say, when I came back, I met this guy. This guy connected me to this guy, and then I got a job here, and then I got experience, and then here I am. I'm like,
oh me. Yeah.
So you know, the universe has its funny way of
bringing everything together.
Together. So we just have to stop overthinking things and stressing it. Life, it will happen.
Okay, I like that,
Yes.
and I can surely relate to that. I have in my study a list that I've written on the wall, and it's all the things that I wanted to do by 45 when I turned 45. So I wrote this thing, I think, just after I qualified, I think in 2014. And between then and now, I've achieved like a lot, I think 90% of those things. And I didn't know how, but I think when you put your intention, you know, when you communicate your intention, then life will lead you there, because subconsciously you say, this is where I want to end up, and all the decisions that you make, you know, will follow. So I love that advice, that, you know, we don't have to figure everything out, and it's okay to do this and then try that. As young people, I mean, when you are in varsity, you're like 18, 19, like you don't know a lot of things. All right, so now, after completing your studies, you went to work in the insurance sector. How did that come about?
Okay, so when I came back, I remember I called, I think it was 3 guys, no, 5 guys. And then it was Makwetane, it was Ketia, it was Sesh, and then it was me. Well, you know what, guys?
They are all in insurance. Were they already in insurance, or?
Makwetane was working at Minet then. Sesh was already at Alliance. I think Ketia was somewhere in the, let me see, I think she was at PSG.
Okay.
So I set them down. You know what, guys? I think we must start an insurance brokerage. You know. Then we sat and then we discussed. Makotana's telling me, no, he has a non-compete, and Sesh was at Alliance, but it never worked out. But I had that thing in mind, and then we started chatting research. So you know what? Maybe you must come at Alliance and work. And then she says, but you know what? Divina doesn't like hiring men. He likes hiring women because women pay attention to detail.
Yeah.
Men and then I just gave up on working at Alliance. And then as time went on, I was just sitting there thinking of going to private equity and then I met this lady. We were having lunch, Lensas, I remember, and then I was telling him, nah, school do private equity and hedge funds and she's like, no, why? Like, hey, give at least the alliance, but it's a good he's that guy there doesn't like hiring guys. So he's like, no, what some apply? And then I applied, and then we had a discussion in Mahlonolo, and just an informal discussion. Then we started chatting, finding out what I'm planning, and then it's like, yeah, no, man, go from sitting 3 months, data cleanup, and then that's how I got in there.
Up there, yeah. And how was working in corporate? What would you say the experience was like in terms of the skills you gained outside of your like technical insurance skills? Like what skills did you gain there that prepared you for the next phase of your life that we're also going to talk about?
I think a lot, because so when I got in there, I remember and every time I lay 4:30, no matter I'll be the first one to get out of there.
My word.
I'll be the first one to get out of there.
Yeah.
And then they always like, this guy, and
why was that? Were you uninterested? Were you like, I don't know what I'm doing
there?
Or was it like what you were doing at that point was not really stimulating enough for you?
I don't know, but I think it was not my vibe. So that's that space, because everyone was busy, like working, and a lot of times what I needed to do was thinking. Understand? So if your job is to think, and you're in a space of people that are doing work, it's as if you're not working.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to get out as fast as possible, and then you started learning to work with teams, and then you started learning to think holistically in terms of saying, if you're solving this problem, it's not just your problem. You need to have input to see how it affects other people. And then the other thing was time management, waking up at 7. So those are, and then leading people in a corporate culture. Then that was the other thing that I learned.
And then you got bored. You're like,
yeah, and then I got bored. So I think I get bored easily. I really get bored easily. I want to do stuff. I think I want to do stuff after a week or so, a month or so, 2 weeks. I get bored.
Yeah.
So I want to do something else. So, and I think that's the biggest challenge with working in corporate, especially established corporate. It's that you have processes already in place. All you have to do is just to follow the processes. So at Alliance, it was exciting. We came in, did the data cleanup, and then we were launching Omang, and then we were introducing XAG. So that was exciting. Learning the system and learning products, and when all that was said and done,
and I was like, okay, now what? Yeah. And I always like to reframe the idea of, someone saying, I get bored easily. I think it just means you love challenges, you love solving problems, and that corporates have this challenge, as you say, to think about, because usually people that get bored easily are people that are very smart and people that they're sharp thinkers, and for corporates to keep those kind of people, then they have to think about, how do I keep this person challenged? How do I move them from one problem to another? And I think people like that also don't like your usual you become this and then you're promoted to the next thing, and then like that's not an incentive for everyone. And I think everyone thinks that it's everybody's dream to go from the bottom to the top, and that's not always the case. Some people just love solving whatever problem regardless of where it is, and I find it interesting.
So the other thing is, and when you get bored easily and you have a very good manager like I had, he will always try and give me new challenges.
Yeah.
But it creates a lot of problems for your other staff members. Because and people just get, no, I think we've had enough of this guy. Then it starts creating that bad vibe around your peers. And
but I'm seeing with a lot of young people that's what they want. Like they want to move around, they want to be challenged. And I think maybe it's a problem in our culture because we have you get the older people, it's always like a mixture of like people that have been working forever and people that are like new and fresh, when they're starting out. And I think it's certainly something that's going to be a challenge for corporates in the next 5 years. That's something that they'll really have to think about. Now, how do we keep people interested? How do we move people around? In South Africa, actually, well, I don't know if they've got this figured out, but like with graduate programs, for example, somebody doesn't just come in one department. They move around through different departments and then later on decide what is the one thing that they want to focus on. So then you transitioned into business, right? Were you always entrepreneurial? Did you start businesses before when you were young? Or why did you decide? I mean, you said you already had a conversation with your friends after you finished university that let's start an insurance brokerage company. So why did you think like that?
So I've always, and I think that's another thing that frustrated me. I'm always thinking. A lot of people say, or because I prefer being in my own space.
Yeah, you're very quiet.
And just thinking. Every time I'm thinking. And the other problem with corporators is when I think I want to do something.
Yeah.
And then processes.
You can't.
Processes.
Stay in your lane.
No, you need approval of NEMCO, you need expo, you need that. And it would frustrate me. So, but I've tried a lot of businesses. I remember this other time. So we're sitting with my friend, my best friend. And I think we're broke at that time. And then we're like, you know what, guy, I think Cuban Links, was it Cuban Links at that? No, it was not Cuban Links. It was
Good Times.
It was Good Times.
Uh-huh.
And Good Times is like a competition, and then we must start a Good Times. And then she's like, yeah, no, let's start a Good Times, my friend. And then we started looking for places.
That's not a good reason to start a business, by the way.
Yeah, really. And then we couldn't get the place, and then it's like, no, maybe we must get a franchise. And then we started looking at News Cafe, and then the guys.
And you thought there was a big enough market for it, but you weren't really thinking.
No, we weren't really thinking.
Yeah.
And then we said, no, let's Google News Cafe, and then they said they wanted 4.5 million. 4.5 million for a franchise at News Cafe now. This thing is too much. And then another friend of ours, Hans Rekoka, oh no, there's this thing called Capello. I go, Capello? There's like, no, it's sharp, long, Josie days. You're like, okay, no, fine, we're doing Capello. And then we Googled Capello. I see this, okay, yeah, the contacts. I think they wanted 1.5 million in unencumbered funds. So I called this guy, Nico. Hey, Nico, so I see you saying you want 1.5 in unencumbered funds. What does this actually mean? It's like, no, man, I'm in China. I'll be back in SA in 2 weeks. Let's meet in Joburg. If you want to do this thing. I'm like, no, it's fine. 2 weeks came in.
So where were you guys going to get capital for?
I don't know. We'd raise it. I think we were just excited
So
by
funny.
the thought of owning Capello. Kadima tjhelete, tshela koloi, ra Gauteng, ha re fihla. Ana tricky mo. There's this engine thingy. I changed my factory suit. You have second when I was doing my second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Ha re fihla mona re fumana moshanyana a di-genie tse taboleng ntho ke Nico ntse a tsuba ngwantsha go kana. No, Nico, you want to open Capello in Lesotho. Then Nico says, no, man, you need 150,000 for the for us to start the negotiations. It's non-refundable. But to bring my designers in, to do the shop fittings, to cost and so, and then he's like, mana. Money talks, bullshit walks. So I hope you're not bullshitting me. No,
Did you have the 150,000?
No, we didn't have that money. So we're like, no, Nico, we're gonna give you that money in 2 weeks. We come back. 2 weeks, he calls. Hey, Motjope, hey, how's it, my friend? No, I'm good. So it's 2 weeks. Where's the money? I'm like, you know what, Nico? I think maybe you guys must fly in to Lesotho to come and look at the scenery and then tell us if you think this couple of thing will work. He's like, no problem. But you need to pay for the flights. Like, the flights, no problem, we'll pay. And then I remember 2 weeks, I was in class, in the maths class, Friday, the maths tutorial, he calls. Come on the phone. And then I came home.
So funny.
When I was home, actually, in the emails, when we were chatting, and I don't know what Lesotho mo. Couple and element power at that time. It was around 4 o'clock. Hey, my guy, now, you need to pay for the flights and we're coming in tomorrow. I'm like, I know, Nico, I'm just busy here. I'm gonna send in the money. I think the flight was around 4,000, 8,000 at the time, and we didn't have it. Like Adima. And then the color 98% of the guys in my phone contacted up. They will never be there for me when I needed them. Because all of the guys in there, I gave me 5,000. No one had 5,000.
Yeah.
Like everyone in there.
Yeah.
And then I sent Nico 6,000 for the flights. They came in. We signed the leases. We did the floor plans. Where Capello was, we had to choose between that place, Limonamo Kingdom Lounge.
Yeah.
So the Kingdom Lounge was big and it was facing the sun, but really it was too big. The rent was too much. And then we decided, no, we're going to come here. And then I still have, you see the Capello as is.
Yeah.
The plans,
Yeah.
the everything,
Yeah.
the costing. I Cafe 72 for lunch with the guys. I paid 150 to Nico's account. We had 150, we raised 150 for Capello. And then what was left now was to raise 3.5 million.
Wow.
For the rest of that space there.
Wow. I did not know this.
So, and then we had to raise 350. Oh man, raising capital is a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
But long story short, I had the whole year to raise the 3.5 million. I failed to raise the 3.5 million. I had lost 150 that was non-refundable on Capello. And then some lady from Botswana came in and bought it. That's how Capello is here. So, and it has always been like, guy, if you were able to think of Capello, like, was that it? Can you think of something else bigger? So, it's an okay. No, whenever I can think of Capello, it means I can think of the bigger things.
Yeah.
So that's what gave me confidence to say, you know what, look at
wow.
This is how.
Yeah.
How.
You know, I always say I could never describe myself as an entrepreneur because I don't have the guts to like keep on rejecting someone's call and telling them, no, I'll get back to you. I have the money. Like, I think that is like the profile of an entrepreneur. That's quite impressive. what lessons did you learn? Okay, besides the fact that I can start any other business. I mean, if I just tried this, then I can go into any other business. That lesson of raising finance and struggling and, all the other things. Yeah, what lessons did you learn there?
Okay, so number one is raising capital is a nightmare. Not because ke makhaya ra, but you need to have a solid business for someone who ga nearly 100,000
Yeah.
or for someone to who ga nearly even 50,000. So that's number one. Number two is the people that you think will want, and the people that you think won't win.
Right, yeah.
You know, so people that are going to come through for you are not these people around you.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of guys fail to understand. All your friends, the guys that hang out with you, are not the guys that are going to come through for you.
But also,
people
don't
from
you think
afar, ke bona ba who will believe in you and who will support you.
But also, don't you think it also means, how do I put it? Like, the way I like to think about it is you need to understand the purpose of, like, whatever relationships that you have, and just because I'm your friend doesn't mean I believe in you enough to invest in your business.
Exactly.
I think
Yes.
that's how I would frame it.
So just because you're not more doesn't mean
I'm going to invest in your business, right? And that means if you're somebody that wants to go into business or that wants to start whatever venture, then you need to start surrounding yourself with people that believe in you. And a way to do that is to start talking about these things. Yeah.
So I think those are some of the lessons that and you really need to think hard about business, about committing capital. I think we're excited about the thought
Of
of
having a
owning
business.
Capello.
Yeah.
Not necessarily we didn't really look into the dynamics or the fundamentals of the business.
Yeah.
So we just excited, also to own a Capello. And that's what was driving us. But then the fundamentals of the business,
Yeah.
we didn't look at them at all.
Yeah.
We would have lost so much money in that thing, and we have lost other people's money.
Yeah.
That stress. So
Yeah.
maybe it's good that
You
you
didn't.
never
Yeah.
go through. Yeah.
So losing the 150,000 was nothing compared to what you would have lost if you really had gone into this thing full time.
Yeah.
So when you then finally got into your current business, which is Tari Mutual, which is an insurance brokerage company, right? Did you have support? Okay, before the support, I want to know whether the fact that you are educated, you have an MBA, and you have all that corporate experience, whether it was of any value in you going into business. And I love having this conversation because nowadays you hear a lot of young people saying, "Skolo hasina thuso," and understandably so because a lot of them are unemployed at the moment. But my question is, like, I know a lot of other people that are educated and that say, because I had this MBA, it helped me so much when I went into business. So do you think education is still valuable? Do you see the value of your education in what you're doing now? Or do you think I could have just started an insurance company after Form 5?
I think so. Education is key. It's very, very important. A lot of people fall into what's called survivorship bias. You understand? So we look at Matekane as one person and say Matekane did it, and look where Matekane is. But we fail to see the 10,000 guys that dropped out and are starving.
That didn't do it.
Didn't do it. So we just look at one guy that survived, and then we want to base everything on
Who's
on
an
him.
outlier? Actually,
Yes, we fail to see the 10,000 guys that did the same thing, but they never really survived. So for me, education is very key. The MBA helped me a lot in terms of thinking broadly about stuff. The experience that I got there, I think that's the most important thing that I got out of that. So education is very key. It helps you to think. It's not just about studying econ and getting 90%. It's about giving you the ability to think critically.
Yeah.
So I think that's what is very important about education. Just the ability to think.
And how do you continue educating yourself now as a business person? Did your education stop with your MBA, or do you still keep on learning in some ways?
Right now, the only thing that I actually do is I read a lot of books, and I learn a lot through YouTube. So I spend a lot of time on YouTube learning a lot of stuff. So my app, I did it myself from scratch, just going through YouTube.
Wow.
YouTube. So that's how I learn these days. I read a lot of books and the internet.
Wow. 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 I'm gonna try and make an app. I'm very competitive, so now I have to learn how to do an app. I'm kidding. So all right, when you went into business, what support did you have in terms of? Well, you've already spoken about the lack of support that you felt, of people close to you. But what support did you have through your network? Did you have any mentors or coaches or people that sponsored you? What was your support structure looking like?
Okay, I think
and don't forget your wife, because you work with your wife. I think she's the key structure. I'm a wife, so that's why I have to put it out there for the wives.
I've been very lucky. I've been very, very lucky to have worked at the Alliance, to have worked with the manager that I had at that time. I think Mashona is something else. That guy is a great guy, very intelligent. A true entrepreneur at heart. So having worked with him, I've learned a lot of stuff for the past 3 years. Because even when I was at Alliance, we'd have conversations about business. He'd tell me about his so many businesses that have failed, and what are the lessons that he've learned from them. And he'd say he thinks this is where people should be if you want to do business. Things like my criteria now for choosing a business, number one is barriers to entry. How difficult is it to get into that business? Number two is scalability.
So firstly, let's go a bit into them. So barriers to entry, you're looking at, you want to go into a business that's easy to get into, or hard?
I want to go into a business that's very hard to get into. So that when I'm there, at least I don't have a lot of competition.
Okay, great.
So that's number one. They say competition is good, but competition is bad. I actually want to run a monopoly, to kick out everyone. So number two is scalability. How quickly can you scale a business? I've always made an example of doctors, but 700. But if you are a medical practitioner, you can only see 30 people in a day. Regardless of how many sick people are. So your income or your top line is limited to consultation times the number of guys you've seen there. So you can never grow that business into like a great business. Because if you hire another doctor to come and work for you, once they have the clients, they're going to say, why should I be still working? So those are some of the things that I learned from Mashona.
That's actually my biggest stress in a consulting business. I always say that like there's only so much growth that you can have before people say, I don't like, why should I be with you? I should go start my own thing.
So I think I learned so much from that guy, and he's been supportive of me like ever since. And then the other one now, I was earning good money at Alliance, like, decent money. And then I'm like, hey, baby, you know what? I want to resign. Yeah, I'm going to start this thing, And for some odd reason, she was like, oh, okay.
It's because she believed in you.
Let's go do it. And then we left 6 months in. She's like, no, let me come in and help you with the business. So ever since then, she's been working with me, helping me with the administrative stuff. And because for me, I'm a thinker. I like.
And then you ignore
I ignore everything else
that have to be done.
So she's able to say, "Whoa, come down. Come, let's look at this.
Yeah.
Let's look at this. So she's been like
a pillar.
a
I'll
pillar.
help you there.
Yes,
A pillar.
yes,
So
a pillar.
what you're saying, I love what you're saying because it means you're saying that you're aware of your strengths. Like you just said, I'm a thinker. I like to, always be challenged once again. And then you said, let me surround myself with people that can close the gaps because I will forget the administrative stuff. I'll forget, like insurance is very regulated. So you can't forget certain things, they have to be done. And is this a conscious thing that you have of surrounding yourself with people that know things that you don't know and that have skills outside of your skills? Or do you just tend to surround yourself with people that are like, yes, sir, those.
No, I think it's a deliberate thing, and so I was telling some guy to say, you know what, if there's someone who's more talented than me, who can run Tari better than me, definitely I'll let that guy run the thing, because a lot of times we always want to be the ones that shine. Get a target, and then I'm gonna run that thing into the ground.
Yeah.
But if I can let someone who's good in this thing to, maybe all I'll do is just lay out the plans, and then when I want to swag and then he runs with it, then I'll be fine. So a lot of guys, but about they always want to be the ones that are the CEOs. They always want to be the ones that are in the front line, and at the detriment of the entire business.
Yeah.
Instead. So unfortunately for me, I got a chelete of the fame. Instead. So if these guys can make me money and I'm sitting at the back, I'm fine. Yeah, I don't want to be at the back, in the front, and then I lose out on all the money.
Okay. So there's a lot of young professionals I know, particularly the Sotumona, who are working, but they have the dream of going into entrepreneurship. And sometimes they even feel stuck in their jobs, like now they want to leave and, all of that. When you look back and you think about when you went into entrepreneurship, what are some of the things that you knew that you didn't know then that you now know, that, like, what advice would you give somebody that says, I want to go into business, but I don't know where to start and I kind of feel stuck in my job?
Okay, so number one, never do it for the money. Never ever do it for the money, because you're going to become frustrated. I remember some status on Facebook. You employed guys by 8 to 5. If you are thinking of coming to us, please don't, because it's rough. It's tough outside here. It's really tough. I promise you. Think 10 times before you leave your 8 to 5.
So why is it tough?
You're gonna start a business, because so when I came out of Alliance, I was saying, we're gonna come in, launch a product in 3 months, we'll be out, we'll be kicking.
Yeah.
It took
in 3 months I'll be making money.
It took me 18 months before we could launch the product.
Wow.
You understand? So
it's going to be so, I've got it all figured out. Yeah.
All figured out. And so another thing I raised, when I started out, I raised 1 million. When I started this thing, I was thinking, I know it's gonna be, 6 months will be bills and the marketing, and then you're like, okay, now what? But because of the passion and because of the love that I have for this thing, you'd go 3 months was a holy.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. But obviously, if you have kids, like I couldn't go 3 months without.
Yes. So I think that was the nice thing about me going there.
Yeah.
You still have my wife, yes, but you'd understand.
Yes.
So if you're gonna do it for the money, you're gonna get frustrated because the money is not gonna come like the way you expect.
Yeah.
So you need to do it because of passion. You need to do it for the love, so that even if you go 3 months without earning a cent, even if your peers about frustrate every day, but you're still in it.
Yeah.
You understand? So
something more than money has to push you.
yes.
I know other people want to go into business. Sorry, other people want to go into business because they want to control their own time. They think I'll knock off whenever I want. I will weekends. I won't spend, working. Has that been the reality for you as well?
Yeah.
What's the reality about time when you're in business?
So when I was working at Alliance and working for Mahlono at that time, you'd be in at 6:30 in the morning. You'd leave at 10, or sometimes at 11, because that's how
In the evening, yeah.
yeah he works. And you're thinking, no, you know what? When I start my own thing, and unfortunately, when you run a startup, you need to be hands-on. You need to be hands-on. You need to know how to sell. You need to know how to write a policy. You need to know. You'll be HR. You'll be hiring. You'll be an accountant. You'll be the manager. You are everything, and so that luxury high when you start. You understand? It's
And your customers call you whenever, like 2 a.m.
every time.
Yeah.
So, and the other difficult part was that I was
Okay.
I was in live, and then when you do a broker, then you have to do short term stuff also.